Hi, we're Fwbooks from Amsterdam and we're working as a team. I'm Hans Gemme, graphic designer, collaborate with Petra Stavast, photographer, and we're based in Amsterdam, a rather small team, but that's what we do. We used to start as a group with 10 students from from the art school in Breda, St. Joost. And now we're basically left with 4. 2 are in the board, Diewertje Komen, Karen Krijgsman, and then me and Petra Stavast, who I mentioned before, are still working here. And the studio where we are now is shared with Roma Publications and Yumi Iguchi. And we also have a project space in France called Enter Enter. We will be showing, one of the books is, that we will be showing is Stanley Greenberg, Springs and Wells in Manhattan and the Bronx, in which he traces, it's a book in which photography from the late 1800s of James Russell Smith is combined with the work of Stanley Greenberg, who traced all the photographs of James Russell Smith, who documented all the springs and wells in New York, and he traces them back and rephotographed them. So you see a giant shift in the landscape in a little over 100 years, which is I think, great document. And the other one is also America related. It's Encampment, Wyoming, and it's the work of Laura Webb Nichols. And it's a quite unknown archive, but beautifully edited and selected by Nicole Jean Hill. She went through thousands of glass negatives and made a beautiful selection which shows like everyday life in the American Midwest. So these are 2 titles which we will be showing. The concept behind Fwbooks is, well, basically we started based upon the bankruptcy of a quite big art publisher in the Netherlands. A lot of our friends had their book published there, and when they went bankrupt they didn't own the books and the rights anymore. So we collectively bought all the rights and the titles and the stock which were left, and then we were a publisher. And from that we're all based in, we have our roots in photography or design, for me personally, but most of us in photography. So that's also for us our natural habitat, but it's a growing concept. So now there's also writers who we occasionally work with, like Taco Hidebakker, or other editors, or we work with archives. So it's a growing organism almost. But if you would pinpoint it, then it's all somehow circling around the theme of photography. Well, before I went into publishing, I was a graphic designer. I graduated and then I immediately worked as a freelance designer in the field of architecture, art and photography. And I worked a lot with people. When I was making books, they were a lot of times independently published, because I always like that. They have a small team and you just think, this is what we want to make, and then we just make it. And as soon as the teams get bigger, it also things can water down, or it becomes a democratic process. But then we became a publisher out of necessity, basically, because of this bankruptcy of female publishers. But this spirit of independent publishing is still, I think, you can still see it within our books, because I still want teams to be small. It's just us, which is a very small team, and then the photographer and the printer involved, and that's it. And I think that's what makes strong books, that it's like without compromise, this is what we want to make, and this is how we are going to make it, and we will not have endless meetings about colors of covers or whatever. We just do as we think is best, and then that's what we do. How many hours I usually spend on working? It's difficult to say in one sentence. I mean, it's just, this is what we do. This is our job, and we take the time we need to make it work. Sometimes we can make a book in a week or even in a month, Sometimes it takes, with Stefan Keppel, it took us more than a year. So you take the time you need. That's how many hours we work. Well, too little. I have a growing piles of books to read, which I occasionally get to, but I wish there were more hours in the week so I could spend more time with them. Yeah, that's a nice question. Yeah, yes, of course. I'm addicted to collecting. I think a lot of people in our field are that. That's probably also where the question derives from. Of course, I collect books, but also maybe this is nice to show that for a few years I walk a lot through the cities, and also if I'm somewhere else, and then every now and then there are these postcards on the floor, like abandoned postcards, which I then pick up and collect, and I hope to get a complete stock someday. They're from all over, like this one is from Las Vegas, Paris, a lot of them of course in Amsterdam, my hometown, and it's a growing collection, never ending, I hope. The first photographer, well that was I think Ren Hang comes to mind immediately. It's his work I saw 3-4 years ago in Foam. Was quite nice, modest exhibition, and it's one of these works that you immediately feel and see that it's special, and so that's the one I would say.